So good morning to everybody. I'm going to start after chanting something and then we proceed with the Satsang. Om Brahmanandam Paramasugadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dandvaditam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasya Dilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarehitam Sadgurum. So, I'm going to start from the point where I was asked a question yesterday by the lady sitting in front of me, who was sitting behind yesterday. She said, there's this thing about illusion, or the world is an illusion. So we wanted a discussion on that. And from there, I will naturally proceed into why we need to do Kriya, and then discuss Kriya in the evening. Not why we need to do Kriya as such, but something to set us going. Not necessarily be this Kriya, but something. Because there must be many Kriyas. We will discuss that later. So the question is, I'm going to say that the world exists because we see it. People are bicycling. We had breakfast in the morning. We breathe. We are living now and we are going to die. So life is there. Maybe the world, while it exists, while I also exist, nobody can disprove that I exist. Even if there is proof, I will say, no, sorry, I exist. So while the world exists and I exist and all that, which is our actual experience in life, true experience, it may be that what we think exists in some way may be existing in a different way. Because let's look at this carefully. When I say I know the tree, or when I say I know Veronica, or when I say I know anybody, what I mean is, I have been given some inputs through my senses, through my sense organs, from the eyes. You know that we have 5 sense organs. Everybody has 5 sense. Anybody has 6th? I don't know. 5 sense organs, 2 eyes to see, 2 ears to hear, a nose to smell, a tongue to taste, and skin to touch. Traditionally they're called Pancha Indriyas, the 5 organs of perception, or the 5 instruments of perception. Our entire life's experience revolves around the data that we have derived from these 5 sense organs. Right? Right or wrong? Right. So when I say I see a tree, the image of the tree which I feel through my 5 sense organs is what I mean by the tree. Right? I'm not saying that the tree does not exist. Tree exists. But my idea of the tree depends on my perception. So if you ask me, does the tree exist in some other form? We are going into this. So how far can we trust the data or the inputs that come from our 5 senses? How far can we trust? Morning, every day we see the sun rise. Right? In the evening we see the sun set. Ask a high school boy, he will tell you the sun neither rises nor sets. It's the world that is moving. But what do we see? We see the sun rising. We see the sun setting. So can we trust the inputs which are provided to us by our 5 sensory instruments? At best they may be wrong, or at the worst they may even be illusory. Like the sun rising and setting is completely illusory. It doesn't arise, it doesn't set, the earth moves. But we see it. So is seeing believing? That's the next question. If seeing was believing, then the sun is actually rising and setting. All I'm trying to say is the impression that we have of the world, let's not get into whether the world exists or not. The impressions that we as human beings, you and me, have of this world is only through the 5 sensory organs. Data. And our brain is a wonderful, complex computer that takes in these inputs, the data, and manufactures our own so-called rational framework. And then we say, oh, we are very rational. Our framework is this. And I'm afraid of moving out 1 inch out of that framework. Please remember, the data with which the mind manufactures the framework is the 5 senses, instruments of perception, and they're not perfect, imperfect, sometimes illusory, sometimes imperfect. So how much can we rely on this so-called rational framework manufactured by the supercomputer, depending on the data that is provided to it, knowing that the data could go wrong? I'm just asking this question. Okay, so you say, but the tree exists, okay. That's what my eyes say. That's what my hands feel when I touch it. Fine. Now, can you imagine why we see the tree in this shape? Can you thought about this? Because our eyes have a certain kind of lens. Here's an optician who will tell you. Our eyes have a certain kind of lens, a convex lens with which we are born. Yeah? So we see the shape. Suppose, imagine that there is a creature, a living being, or it may not be human being, there are such creatures who is born with a different kind of lens in the eye by birth. So how will that creature see the tree? Example, even though the common house fly, you don't see many here. India, we have plenty of house flies coming in. They love the molasses and the jaggery. So a house fly, it's known, has a compound eye. If you ask a biologist, he will tell you that a housefly has a compound eye. That means many small eyes together, put together in each. So what will be the image of the tree for the fly? Through the compound eyes. It may see as many trees put together. Small pieces put together. We see one. And then the brain of the little fly, the little computer, gathers it all and says, this is the tree. We say this is the tree. Who is right? I'm right. The fly is right. But ultimately we are all wrong because we don't know exactly what the tree is. We know only the image that we get of the tree. We don't know the tree. You know what I'm trying to say? We don't know the tree. And if you knew the tree, you know everything. Without the image that we know. I don't know. I'm very passionate about this because it's a fact. These are realities. Okay. Let's be a little more elaborate on this. I hope you don't mind. Will this subject put you to sleep? Imagine that we are looking at a material object. If you need to go details into this, there's a beautiful text, very old text called the Saddharma Pundarika. If you go into this, you might study this. In the Mahayana Buddhist system also it is studied. Or Vimalakirti, for instance. And and the Upanishads. Suppose we have an object here. We're not talking about any imagination now, okay? Now, object. We all love objects, right? This object. Suppose instead of this, we have I want more colorful thing. We have a red colored cube or rectangle in front of us. So, when we identify the object, we say to ourselves, this is a red cube. It has 6 sides and so on. And it's hard or soft. If it's made of rubber, then it is soft. If it is made of wood, then it is hard and so on, or iron. And the color is red. This is how we identify every object in the world, including the tree, through the instruments of perception. Now we want to look at this carefully. No belief system in this, really. Look at it carefully. The color red means what? It means that object, you know that the sunlight or light has a spectrum of 7 colors. It's called the Vibgyor. Vibgyor, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. This is the color of the spectrum, which comes in white light. But if you have a small, you do it in high school, if you have a small circle with all these colors, and if you rotate it fast, it is white. So white light has all, if the white light goes to the prism, then it splits into its 7 colors. These are its colors. So when I say an object is red, it means that that particular object absorbs all the other colors and reflects only red. When I say red paint, it means I have managed to manufacture a chemical product which reflects only a certain color and absorbs the rest. This is what it means. So the red cube, the first thing that we are attracted to is usually the color. It's very clear. Look, women always wear colorful clothes. Men also. Before you say yes, I said men. Why? Because we are attracted to color. The first thing that touches it is color. People buy the best car, but if the color is not okay, they're not happy. So, red is the color by which you identify the cube. We are saying now that the red is not a quality of the attribute of the cube, but attribute of the light. What does the cube have? Only the capacity to absorb and reflect. And it doesn't have a brain. It's so the molecules are built in such a way. So one certain attribute of the cube, which we thought is absolutely 100% certain, red, is gone. It doesn't belong to it. It belongs to light. Think about it. Then, but please enjoy red when you see it. Then, what is the next thing we can look into? Cube. It has 6 sides. It's a cube. It has the shape of a cube. We also talked about the tree in the beginning. How will a housefly with multiple compound eyes see the cube? What shape will it see it as? We don't know. And whatever shape it sees, it will accept that shape because it's seeing through its eyes. Compound eyes. Okay, you're sitting in the car on a rainy day, there are drops of water on the windshield, and you're looking at a lamp post, and the lamp post appears like this. But you say, no, it's straight. Why? Because my lens are from birth made in such a way that I see it straight. What if I had lens when I was born, which are like the raindrops on the windscreen? How would I have seen the post? I would have seen it like this. I might call it straight because it's a question of language, how I am trained to call it. But that straight for me might have been this way, right? So can shape be an absolute property of a thing, or is it relative to who is looking at it and what instruments are looking at it? Instruments of perception. Okay, then the other third attribute is it is big or small. For us, the cube may be this much. You can take it in your hands. What about an ant? How small is the cube for an ant? Because it takes a long time to walk and come down. Big. We say it is small. The ant says it is big. I don't know what uncle says, but the ant says it is big. So which is the correct size? Is it really big or small? Okay, I see this cloth and I say solid. I can't put my fingers through. It's solid. But do you know that bacteria, hundreds of bacteria can go through this cloth between the weaves. It's called the warp and the woof. Between the warp and the woof, we don't see any space, but there is space. And through that space, for a bacteria, it's like the fort. Can go through, many can go and come out. We don't see it. Why? Relative to our perception. Something is going on here. Telephone? Okay. So, it's okay. Come back soon. Somebody's trying to get in touch, I think. It's okay, Rob. My God, you switched it off. So what were we saying?
Close. Bacteria.
So, is the cloth small? Is the space small or is the space big? We don't know, really. For us, it is very small. For another creature, another observer, it may be big. So what is the correct? We don't know. Really, we don't know. We are right. The ant and the bacteria are right, but we are also wrong. Absolutely, because we actually don't know. It's the same with the tree. The shape, the color, what we call big or small, and then we say, oh, this is an wooden cube, it's pretty hard. Not for an elephant. For us. So where are the 100% sure attributes of the cube which we started with? But it must be existing. Something exists there, but the image we get depends on our perceiving. The great poet Alexander Pope said, the difference is as great between the optic seeing as the object seen. It's also relative. It's also depend on the perceiver. And in the ultimate, we go Newtonian physics, we study in school, college. It has very perfect and accurate things. It says, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and so on and so forth. Then some people advance into advanced science and physics, and then they get into quantum physics. When they go into quantum physics, all their certainties are shot off at one shot, all gone. Why? Because the smallest brick that goes to make this universe, which is called a quantum particle, which is called a quantum whatever. No molecule is big. When you think of a quantum, a molecule is like the whole universe. For us it is small. Yeah, see? It's so relative. The quantum spark, which is the basic building block of this universe, when you reach there, ask a quantum physicist. tell you that they're not sure whether it is a particle or a wave. So all certainty is gone, there is only uncertainty. So we are saying it's good to start with uncertainty. The quantum, whatever, when you think it, you can't see it in even in an electron microscope, it is so small. You know that it exists only through reactions. It's so small, through the reactor. So when the scientist thinks that it is a particle and he's watching it, suddenly it behaves like a wave. Then he says, oh, it's a wave, then it becomes a particle. So some physicist has even gone to the extent of saying that it depends on the observer. Everybody has not accepted it yet. David Bohm was one of the physicists who accepted this fact. It perhaps depends on the observer. So then what happens? The observer becomes more important than the observed. And the observed is dependent on the observer. So you see what you want to see. You don't see things as they actually are. Okay. On the psychology side, you think you are communicating with me, and I am thinking I am communicating with you. Wrong. You have an image about me, right? And after knowing you for a couple of days, I have an image about you, right? So who is communicating? Your image is communicating with my image. There is no real communication. Psychologically. This is physical. This is psychological. So what I am trying to say is something exists. But how it exists, in what form it exists, how long it's all depending on our perceptions only. So we can say we are right, yes, but somebody else can say it is right also. And therefore I think either we are all right or we are all wrong. But there is an observer. That is undoubted. For all this, there is an observer. Whether he is seeing through the instruments of perception or not, there is an observer, right? Everybody has an observer. That observer is there. It's real. There is no escape from that. Because if there is no observer, nothing will be seen, right or wrong. Okay. So from this, so this is what it means by illusion. Not that it doesn't exist, but it doesn't exist as we think it exists. In pure existence, it exists. And it forms, different shapes, different images, different sounds. Existence is real, but the way we look at it depends on us. Therefore, it is relative. It's not absolute. I'm not saying it is not, but it is not absolute. Okay. So, is there some way to look beyond these 5 instruments of perception? Is there some way? Because we only have these 5 instruments. We don't have anything else at the moment. Is there a way that there could be another instrument of perception which can see things as they are? Or at least recognize the fact that existence is, but the forms are different. This is the actual meaning of the term Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti. It doesn't mean all religions are same, it's one, no. Actually what it means is there is only one truth and there are different attributes given depending on the observer. Some people use this to say all religions are one. If all religions are one, why are there so many religions? You can say all religions are different ways and so on, but if there is one, then there is no need of the one is enough. Unfortunately, it's not so unfortunately. So, now we are going to examine, is there a way to find out if we have in our own body, in our system, in our mind, in our brain, other ways of perception, other instruments of perception, which are not activated and which are latent. The rishis say, yes, there are. There is or there are, the many. One, start with one, but there are. And if these are activated, which are normally not activated in most human beings, then our perception of the world and existence and myself will change, because it is different from the limited instruments that we have. So, do the rishis only say that? Or has science any relevance to this? This is the next question. Are we just relying on what they said in the Vedas or other books? Or is there something to do with science in some way? I am a great believer in science. We are sitting here today comfortably because of science. But we have come here because of the mind. So, if there was no science, Rob couldn't have robbed any of the pictures from here. So, is there something? Okay, now we are going to shift the subject a bit. There is a very small little organ which belongs to the endocrine system. You know, we have an endocrine system in the human body. They're also called ductless glands because they don't have ducts, but they're very important. Among the most important. One of them is the master gland which operates this whole system, the pituitary, and it's sitting here. Yogis say the Sahasrara chakra is here, and that's where Shivam is, but leave that. There is the pituitary sitting here, and it's controlling the whole system. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 15th chapter is very interesting. It says, Urdhva Mula Matasya, there is an upside down tree with its roots above and branches below. Normally all the trees have roots down and branches below. So people think, is this some mystical? No, it's the human system. The roots are here, controlled from. The pituitary is the master gland. And the rest of the body is run by these. These are all the branches and the leaves and the senses. And the first person, Yogi, I have heard, who pointed it out was Lahiri Mahashaya. When he commented on the 15th chapter, he said everything is controlled from here and the rest are all branches. Interesting. But it's a fact. Okay. So that is the master gland. Okay. Just under the pituitary gland, there is a small little gland called the pineal. Pineal. Now don't get confused. Nowadays internet is full of pineal gland, detoxic and so on. I think rubbish. But it is there. There is a pineal gland. And it's a very small little object, tiny, shaped like in India what we have the green chili, but very small. Till 60 years ago, everybody thought it's a useless organ. Like you have the vermiform appendix here, which is considered to be a vestige organ, useless. Nobody knows why it is there, or scientists don't know why it's there. So they thought this is another vestige organ, in spite of the fact that it has a cone which contains the same kind of cells as the cones of the eye. Still, they thought it is a vestige organ. It has no use, it has no function. Okay. 50 years ago, maybe 55 years ago probably, suddenly the scientists woke up to this understanding that the pineal gland is a very important organ. So everybody said yes. The scientist has to say, otherwise we don't. Anyway, good thing. It's good to be scientific. They said it's a very important organ. What for? It controls your sleep and waking. In scientific terminology, there's something called the circadian rhythm, which means the waking and sleep rhythm. The pineal gland contains a substance called melatonin. Melatonin. That's why you eat if you have a jet lag. Not a good thing to do. It's better to allow it. I have half a day's jet lag. I can tell you, it's a very simple technique. As soon as you finish a long distance travel time zone, come and lie on your bed and let your head hang down a bit. If you don't have blood pressure, or you get a stroke, put your head down hanging and wait for some time. Then take a nice little nap for an hour. Next day do the same thing and take another 1 hour nap. Because there is circulation in the pineal gland and it starts functioning in a different way. So this is what happens in the jet lag. The circadian rhythm is broken. People ask me, you don't have a jet lag? I keep traveling time zones. I don't tell them I know what to do, but I say, no, I don't have a jet lag. So now we are here, we know the secret. So, so the pineal gland has melatonin, and when you close the windows and make dark, the room becomes dark, then it releases little melatonin into your bloodstream. So you want to sleep. When you say, I'm feeling very nice, I'm wellness, I feel very well and nice, a little bit of serotonin and dopamine is being controlled by the pituitary and put into your bloodstream. So you are feeling very nice. This is what happens in meditation. So by and large, it's quite chemical. If it is not chemical, why are we doing postures? If it is purely spiritual, can it be affected by postures? No. Postures are physical. There is a link. Okay. So, 50 years ago they discovered that this is a very important organ. 60 years ago they said it's useless. 100 years ago, a yogi whose name was Swami Vivekananda and who was perhaps the first one to travel abroad and speak in English to people, said 100 years ago that perhaps the pineal gland is the stem of the Sahasrara chakra. How did he know? What made him? He didn't have the lab to check. So we are saying that in the human system, like the pineal gland, which is of course, if you draw a line from the middle of between the eyebrows back, and from the center of your head, if you draw a line, where both meet is exactly where the pineal gland is inside, roughly. So when you fix your attention here. Now, normally they say that these instruments or these organs cannot be controlled by us, but they are functioning by themselves. The yogis say their functioning can be controlled by thought, by mind. So, if there are other, leave that alone, this was just a discussion. If there are other instruments of perception, do you know that just 20% of the brain is used for our lives, including philosophy, studying, mathematics, everything. There are still 80% of the brain which we are not allowed to function because we don't need it. So who knows, there may be other instruments of perception in these parts. So the question is, if it is so, are there ways and means to awaken and make them active if they are not active now? The whole science of yoga and meditation is meant to explore where these instruments of perception are, including this. Let me tell you, you can't touch it by drilling. I heard in the US that there is a new set of people drilling holes in the head to reach the third eye. It doesn't work. Either you can go nuts or you can die. So, are there ways and means by which this can be activated? And the good news is that all human beings have it, most. I don't know if any human beings don't have, I don't know. Sometimes I get a feeling when I talk to some people, maybe they don't have it. Most people have part of your anatomy. So, if there are ways and means by which this can be activated, then you are stepping out of the boundaries of the conditioned knowledge which you derive of this world through your instruments of perception, which are limited. So the entire science of meditation, including Kriya, not my Kriya, Kriya means technique, are meant to bring this about. So you also need a change in diet, a change in the way you live and practice. Can't do separately. So therefore, the practice of Kriya begins with certain rules and regulations. You need to regulate your life a bit. If you don't regulate your life, even physically, chemically, it is difficult to bring about any change. So, which is why we'll come into that later when we check on Kriya. Now, when I say Kriya, don't mistake me that I am talking only about the Kriya that I am teaching. Kriya is a generic word, general word. It means technique. In the Yoga Shastras, there are so many techniques of Kriya. There may be many techniques. But when I say Kriya, I am talking about that particular tradition of Kriya which has been handed down from somebody or something called Sri Guru Babaji. Not a personality, a being, to my teacher Maheshwarnath Babaji, and through him to me. This is the Kriya I am talking about. There must be other ways, 100%. Cannot be. Cannot not be. So, I know only this because I have done other also a little bit, but this is the Kriya. So now the question is, some people ask me, when I always say Babaji, they have this question, is this the same Babaji as the Autobiography of a Yogi, Mahavatar Babaji, and so on? Actually, it's not really important, but since the question is asked, I have to tell you this, but it is the same. But the fact is that for the first time, the Western audience, even Indian audience, most English-speaking people and Bengali-speaking people, came to know of the existence of such a being only when Yogananda Paramahamsa wrote the Autobiography. Before that, most people had no idea. But the picture that is there, Yogananda Paramahamsa had seen a vision, he says, of Sri Guru Babaji. Well, we call him Sri Guru Babaji. The word Mahavatar was coined by Yogananda Paramahamsa because he said, many people have come and gone and this is there for a long time, so his Maha means great. For thousands of years, this being has been known in meditative circles in India as Sri Guru Babaji. Same. And including in the works of the Nath Sampradaya, to which I belong, Gorakhnath, Matsyendranath, and so on, it's always the textbooks start with Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha and Om Nityanataya Namaha. Oh, the Nath who exists forever. Or at least comparatively forever. When the entire world ends, that will also go, but as long as it lasts. So this is the being whom we call Sri Guru Babaji. And therefore, if people have already learnt Kriya from the SRF, Self-Realization Fellowship, or from, what in India it's called, Yogoda Satsang Society, then I tell them that you don't have to learn this Kriya from me, because you can practice what you have learned properly. If you have any doubts, I will help you. You don't have to shift. However, there are a few factors which I don't see in the Kriya which is given out by SRF. I think it is because they want to simplify it for the Western audience, probably. Because Yogananda Paramahamsa definitely knew about it. If he is a disciple of Yukteswar Maharaj, who was a disciple of the great Lahiri Mahashaya, he must be knowing it. But I see that when I talk to SRF people, there are certain things which we do in Kriya is missing, but the central technique is the same. Well, we call it the hot and cold. If the hot and cold does not exist, then it is not the standard Kriya. There is something wrong. But SRF, yes. So, the fact is, since we are on the subject, the Shyamacharan Lahiri, who is known as Lahiri Mahashaya, Mahashaya simply means master, teacher in Bengali. Shyamacharan Lahiri was taught 108 Kriyas by his teacher Sri Guru Babaji. Out of these, he adapted and gave a few Kriyas to a few people in different ways. So you might find different schools of Kriya. If the source is this, then they are all authentic. Like a particular set of people are there, I won't name any names, who also are descendants of Lahiri Mahashaya through some other teachers. Now, the closest disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya was Panchanand Bhattacharya, who lived in Devghar in Bihar, and who was a family man. And he had his estates. He was a family man. It's not as if Yukteswar Maharaj is the only disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya. There were many. Pranavananda, Kevalananda, and the closest to him was Panchanand Bhattacharya. So therefore, you will find, if you go to Banaras in the Bengali Tola section, or if you go to other parts of India, so many Kriya Yoga circles which do not bear allegiance to SRF, which is not wrong. There is nothing wrong with that, because they all come from different lineages of Lahiri Mahashaya. But the problem is difficult to find out if it is authentic. Everybody can say, oh, I am coming from the... So that problem is there. But there is possibilities of this happening. So this is my tradition, and I teach you what I know and what I have learned. So you might, if you're already into the SRF training, you might find some additionals. There is no harm in adding them and continuing with your practice. You might see that you practice for 10 years and things are not going okay. Add one and then it's moving. So, with due respects to all traditions. Now, there have also been parallel traditions for Kriya, which are similar, but the techniques may be different, slightly different. So now, after hearing this, if you are still interested in taking up Kriya Yoga, then you don't have to join any cult to learn Kriya Yoga. Actually, I am an anti-cult man. You don't need any cult to learn Kriya. You need to agree that yes, I will practice regularly. And I will find my progress according to my practice. And that, because it is given from a tradition, I will always respect Sri Guru Babaji. That's it. You don't have to respect me also. That's not important. So, this is the Kriya, and it is not a complicated thing. It's a very simple thing which you can practice every day. Only don't say, I don't have time. We have time for everything. Why don't we have time for Kriya? At least postpone taking the dog out for a walk for 15 minutes, and then do your Kriya and then take the dog or done. If you do the whole Kriya process, apart from the yoga asanas, which if you are already doing, you can continue to do, no harm. You'll find it will require about 25 minutes to 30 minutes to complete the process. That much time is required. We spend so much time in useless things. Why can't we have half an hour for Kriya every day? If that much can be done every day, and only if you feel that you can do it, you should take Kriya. Otherwise, it's of no use. My waste of energy, waste of time. If you don't practice, the effect is in the practice. Is that clear? Okay. Now we will have a small little 10 minutes break, but before that, as of now, what we have discussed today morning, if you have any questions, we are open to this.
So related to what you were just saying, the practice of Kriya and other things, how is it with Pranayama? It's just a super practical question. I mean, is it good to mix them, or is it better just to keep them separate? Or
Now, if you are already practicing yoga asanas and pranayama, it's a good idea to do that first and then get to the practice of Kriya. You don't have to mix it up, but you can certainly practice and then go to Kriya. Okay. However, Kriya itself, the central technique of Kriya is a pranayama. There is pranayama involved in that. So you have to do that anyway. But if you're already doing different kinds of pranayama and yoga asanas, you should do that before the practice of Kriya. For the simple reason that for those who don't practice asanas or any other pranayama, Kriya is self-sufficient. But if you already are practicing, it is very useful. And before we practice the Kriya, we do something called a Mahamudra. The Mahamudra is kind of basically, it's an asana. It's a posture. But what happens in Mahamudra is the entire muscles of the body, including the spine, they are all stretched and then relaxed. So you do any yogasana. The principle of a yogasana is that when you do an asana or a posture, your muscles in certain parts of your body are first tensed. Up or down or side, tensed. And then when you relax, then the energy flows into the system. The tension is necessary to then relax. Look, if you are always relaxed, and there is you would not know what is relaxation. It's when you contrast it with tension that you see what is relaxation. So in the whole principle of asanas is to tense and then relax. In Mahamudra, the entire body is completely tightened, and then when you let go, it's totally relaxed. And the spine is bent in such a way that all blockages in those areas are reduced. So therefore, since Mahamudra is there, even if you don't practice other asanas, it is okay. But if you are practicing asanas, I can tell you that it is a very good thing. It will add to your Kriya, help you. I'm saying this because from the age of 10, even before I got Kriya, I have been practicing yoga asanas. And I'm continuing even up to now. If I don't get time in the morning, I do in the evening. But 15 minutes every day is normal for me. I feel that keeps me going. I think that's one of the Kriya and Yoga asanas. Now please don't get wrong conclusions. We are not doing Kriya for this, what I'm going to say, or Yoga asanas for this. But Kriya and Yogasana for so many years is what is responsible for my well-being, physically as well as mentally. Physically, I can do most things that persons 22 years old can do. I bet, if you want to try. or mentally, sometimes I wonder if I am growing up or not. I am somewhere in 25 years, 22 years. Today I was coming, I saw many shoes there. Suddenly occurred to me, shall I change positions? And it will be fun. It keeps you pepped up, And so this is the side effect. It's not the main reason for Kriya, but it's one of the byproducts of Kriya, that mentally and physically you keep young. You can't be like Babaji always, but it does make some change. I think it changes the cell structure a bit. It fills the cells with more oxygen and keeps it going. And when we yogis are tired of this life and want to go, it's very easy. It can be done in 10 minutes. My teacher used to call it as a joke. He used to say spiritual suicide. You've done your work and you don't want to do it, then you sit in Padmasana, do the khechari and finished. All activities of the body will stop. And after some time, because the body cannot function, it's forced to quit. And you will find nothing, except sometimes there will be little blood here, but generally nothing. Since we are on the subject, many of you must have heard of Lahiri Mahashaya, the yogi who used to live in Banaras and from whom many lineages have come. I am not directly connected to that lineage because I come from Maheshwarnath Babaji's lineage, but many yogis are. And Maheshwarnath Babaji had great respect for Lahiri Mahashaya. He said, is one of the greatest yogis produced in this century. So, not century, in this period. So once, Lahiri Mahashaya had a very close friend whose son became a doctor. So he was going to join his first job as a doctor. So he had his bag and everything. And so his father told him, since you are going to join Banaras, when you go to Banaras, my friend lives there. His name is Shyamacharan Lahiri. He didn't know anything more than that. He's my father's friend, Shyamacharan Lahiri. You go and meet him and take his blessings since you are going to join the new job and go. He said, okay. So he didn't know anything. He went with his bag and he saw him sitting in his room, cross-legged as usual. So he introduced himself. He said, very good, sit down. Then he said, so you have become a doctor? Yes. So according to the doctors, medical profession, what is the symptom of death? How does death happen? So he said, well, the pulse stops, the heart stops, then the brain becomes dead and the body becomes cold. This is the function, this is how death takes place. Okay. So he said, do you have your stethoscope in the bag? He said, yes. Take it out. So I'm going to sit here quietly. I wanted to check if I'm dead or alive. So he was thinking, what is this man saying? Anyway, so he sat in Padmasana, took a few deep breaths and became still. The man waited for 1 or 2 minutes, then he started checking his pulse, no pulse, both hands. Then he checked his heart with the stethoscope, no heartbeat, no sign of heartbeat. He was a little worried. Then he waited. Then he touched his forehead, it's becoming cold. And he touched the solar plexus, is becoming cold. He said, this man is gone. He said, I don't know how he died, but he's dead. So he started shouting loudly, oh, he's dead. So the whole family came and said, why are you shouting? He said, he's dead. He said, normal, he will come back. Relax. Keep quiet. So this is a state which may happen in Kriya. You have to warn your, no, it won't happen so fast. Only for an advanced yogi. Otherwise you make a lot of noise, people will think you're dead. But anyway, so what happens is, with the constant practice of Kriya, it becomes unnecessary for the body to depend on oxygen. No, don't try it, don't say I'm going to stop breathing. You get a concussion of the lungs or the head or something, but there's no need. Then what happens? Then the energies begin to function independent of the breath. So, well, I'm just explaining this. This is not the end aim of Kriya. It is just a side effect. But one thing is clear. If you are really practicing Kriya properly and then also doing the meditation which comes at the end of the, certainly your system's working will slow down quite a bit and you will require less oxygen. Well, physically we can prove this. When you go to places like Kailash, which is, the Dolmola Pass is 22,500 feet above sea level, there is very little oxygen there. People usually carry oxygen cylinders. There are portable ones available. I have been to Kailash, once public, once without knowing, and there is no need for oxygen cylinders because your breathing is so slow, you adjust your breathing, that it takes only little oxygen. And you're perfectly alright. People say you feel good. Nothing happens. But I continue to do my Kriya every day. Now I don't think, oh, so many years I've been doing Kriya, I can stop it. No, I like it. I love it. It keeps me going. I don't need it. And that's a different matter. But why wouldn't you do something you enjoy? Suppose you love music. You don't have to practice every day because you know you can do it. But if you enjoy it, won't you sit down in the evening after a cup of coffee, or if you're not drinking anything stronger, and then... So you should look at Kriya that way, as an enjoyable, practical, day-to-day exercise with complete attention. Then you'll see what comes out of it. If you simply do it like a mechanical thing, then effects are less. Did I say anything wrong?
Is it by Kriya Yoga that you get an other perception from the truth? What you see, what there is?
Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga, what happens with Kriya is it opens up other instruments of perception in your mind so that you go beyond your five senses, which for some people it may be possible by thought, but it's rare. For most people, you need to do something about it. So it need not mean this Kriya technique. There are various techniques. There is a beautiful Kashmir Shaivism text called Vijnana Bhairav. There is a very good translation nowadays in English by Lakshman Chu, who was a well-known teacher at one time. So you will see that there are so many methods described, not only this Kriya. This Kriya is not described so much because that's not his tradition. There are different techniques.
112.
Yeah. So the main thing is how to get the perceptions which are out of the ordinary and how to touch it, how to go. Okay. To give you a simple example, this will seem very silly and funny, but let me tell you. When you are about to sneeze, you know what happens in a sneeze? The lungs is trying to throw out the moisture from inside. That's the physical purpose of the sneeze. But when you sneeze, you see the point where you're just sneezing or you want to sneeze, it's actually very enjoyable. And then it's gone, over. Even that can be used. If you can catch that. There are other things which I don't want to say in public, but for me. Which doesn't mean that you need to keep practicing that to touch that, but to get a hint of what it is. That suspense, where you have done and yet not done, activity but not activity. Then they are obsessed by it and then they sink. What Tantra is trying to say is just as I told you about the sneeze, even in the act of sex there is a point where you have no thought. Then you experience something, which is why we all want it. I don't want it now, but that's why because you can do it without that. Why? See, all the young girls are sitting here. India, I dare not talk. Actually, the youngest. This whole process of making love before the actual act is all our imagination. Different people have different imaginations. It's necessary. It may not be the same with everybody, right? Different people. Some people like blonde, some like dark hair. I mean, imagination. And then afterwards, when the actual act takes place, ultimately it all culminates in the act, however much you want to keep it out. And then when the actual act takes place, for a split second, you don't know where you are, you don't know what you're doing, you actually don't know who you are for a time, for a second. That's the time when you're touching the core. That's your core, that ecstasy which has no thought. I mean, there is thought, but it's just a feeling. This is what is the aim, which is why everybody wants to have it. We are saying that can be done without the act also. The act may be an indication of that. And if you already had it, then you don't need the act to have it. You can still love people without it, without the physical. You know what I mean? But what happens, because the example is given, people think they have to repeatedly do that to get into samadhi, which is not true. That's what I'm trying to say. In which case, in Amsterdam, in the red light district, there will be many samadhis. I have nothing against them, please. No, I have nothing against that. That's a different story. I think the divine manifests itself in different forms, in different ways. Everybody is to be respected. Full stop. I'm just giving you an example.
Why should that, in English, very good. Why is the one side better than the other side?
Which side?
The side without the act.
Huh?
Without the act is...
It's not better, but then you're not dependent on it.
Oh, it's about dependency.
And you realize that it's in everywhere, in everybody.
Yeah.
The other half, what happens, we think this is only possible here, in this little thing.
Yeah.
Between two people, then you realize it's universal. And it's much more than that. It's not just that. It's an ecstasy which bursts forth like 1,000 bombs. Maybe if somebody saw that Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they could have got some idea. Which is why you have to be very careful with this. Because if you're not ready for it, such an act can produce complete disaster. So therefore, Kriya means step by step. Step by step, condition your mind enough, make your mind fit to receive these things. Carefully, little by little, and then grow. So it's an organic growth, rather than a sudden thing. So shall we break for 10 minutes? You know, I'm very, I don't have many addictions, but I'd like a coffee once in a while. Thank you.
How do you want the coffee?